Are you ready for a Kevin Durant update, Drapes? From Evan Sittery. He says the Suns have been in active trade negotiations on Kevin Durant with the following teams over the past 24 hours. Of course, he cites Shams.
Yeah.
Heat, Knicks, Rockets, Spurs, Timberwolves. A trade will be done ahead of the 2025 NBA draft on June 25th. You know, a team that I've seen mentioned relative to Kevin Durant is, have you heard the Hawks? Have you heard some of that being thrown around?
I heard that, like a week ago or something.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anything to that. We'll find out. Nice enough to join us. Hawks reporter with Locked on Hawks, Brad Rowland. How are you today, Brad?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, you're very welcome. We appreciate your time. We know this is a busy time of year for basketball reporting types. First of all, I know it seems kind of silly, but is there anything to, as far as you can tell, anything that could link the Atlanta Hawks to KD?
I heard like a little rumbling, but I don't know how serious it is. And then in recent days, there's been reporting about, Miami and the usual suspects, and the Hawks are not really been in that national reporting. So I'm kind of skeptical, but they do have the pieces if they wanted to do it. I'm just not sure they're quite to the all-in move stage that would be traded for Kevin Durant.
Gotcha.
Hey, Brad, what are you hearing about what the Hawks may be targeting, who they may be targeting? What do they need?
It's interesting. They're kind of a difficult team to track because they have this starting five of young players who kind of fit together, and that's their young core. And most teams don't have like the same five guys that can actually play in a lineup together as their young core. It's usually like a couple guys in one position or whatever, but they have their five best young players form a lineup. They don't have like a screaming need, but they also have depth concerns. They have, basically like injury concerns the last couple of seasons. They have size concerns. Their starting center, who I do like, Onyeka Okongwu, is a limited player in terms of size at center. So they have some questions there, and really just youth. Like if they want to win now and win more in the short term, which I think has been the reporting when they fire the GM, it's like, hey, win now, win more. Mm-hmm. They're not quite ready to do that without adding at least some depth and quality veterans to this roster.
Speaking of the reporting, and we're talking to Brad Rowland from Locked on Hawks, there was a report from Grant Afseth that the Kings had talked to the Hawks about Trae Young, but that those talks had stalled. How much stock do you think we should put into that report that the Hawks and Kings at least were having discussions at some point? Any light you can shed on that for us, Brad?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty normal conversation topic between the two teams, and I don't mean that in a pejorative way. Like, I feel like it's a reasonable discussion to have. The Kings are, if you were scanning the league and said, what teams would even just make sense to trade for Trae Young, I think the Kings would be on my list. I don't know if they'd be number one, but they'd be high on my list, just of theoretical teams. At the same time, I don't speak for the Hawks, but I don't love the options to match salary and kind of put this trade together. So it's like there's some incentive on both sides, but also there isn't like a perfect deal that screams at me. Maybe it's just Zach LaVine and picks, but do the Hawks want Zach LaVine? I'm not sure. There's always a big split on Zach LaVine given how much money he makes. He's a good player, of course, but I've heard maybe they've talked, but I don't think it's anything terribly serious right now. And I think the reporting that it's cooled off is probably right, but this is silly season too. Smoke screens are out there, and we're kind of in crunch time in the next 10 days.
Hey, in terms of, I'm going to stick with the Trae Young here real quick. One of my concerns about Trae, and maybe this is unfounded, and this is why I'm asking you, is we need sort of a culture setter here in Sacramento, a leader, not only from a basketball standpoint, but locker room, community. How would you assess Trae Young in that regard?
I think he has come a very long way in that regard. Okay. I think when he was, probably getting more shine than he does now nationally, as a younger player, when he was probably, averaging even more points than he does now, and all of that kind of had the shine of a young player on him. He was young, and I mean by age young, in maturity wise, he wasn't, and he'll tell you, he's not the most natural leader. I think when he was 20, 21 years old, he was the face of the franchise and maybe wasn't ready for that as far as leadership is concerned. But now he's a dad, and he's 26 now. I think he's definitely more ready to be that kind of leader. He's never going to be this most galvanizing vocal guy in the world, but he has done a lot more of that, both publicly and privately from what I've been told. And I think he's just an adult now. I don't mean that he wasn't before, but hopefully that comes across appropriately. He's just grown up a lot over the last 6-7 years. And, would that be different in a different place? Maybe. He's pretty vocal, at least he has been recently, how much he loves Atlanta. I don't know what that means, but it's one of those things where, like, he's also, he lives in Oklahoma still part-time. He lives in California part-time. He's not, like, a one-city guy, so I think he could probably go somewhere else and be galvanizing, even if he's not, like, again, the most, like, natural, charismatic leader. He's come a long way in that department.
Yeah, Brad Rowland with us. Brad, I wanted to ask you about reports that the Hawks are trying to move up in the first round. I think it was our buddy Rafael Barlow who suggested that. We've been hearing that about the Kings, about a lot of teams, which makes sense with the CBA. What, if anything, can you tell us about the Hawks and a willingness to or an effort to try to move up, maybe package their 2 picks and move up in the first round?
Yeah, I think it's definitely on the table for them. I was actually reading a tweet from Sam Massini of The Athletic just a few minutes ago about how, like, it's kind of, we're in weird smokescreen season where, like, it doesn't always make sense, but it also could be true. And I think if you just kind of do the logical, take a half step back and say, would it make sense for the Hawks to package their picks? Like, maybe they could. Like, if there was a guy they loved, there's been some buzz about Kamen Malawach, the big center from Duke.
Yes.
If the Hawks wanted to add a big center to what I said before, they don't have that 7-foot guy on their roster to kind of be an anchor for them. That'd be a way to do it. I think if he doesn't fall far enough, like, there's only so high you can go with 13 and 22. That doesn't take you to 3 or 4. Like, you can probably get to 7 or 8 at the absolute most. So they're in the market for that. They're in the market to trade one of the picks, I think, from what I've heard. Maybe to add a veteran. So they're a pretty interesting team. They don't have 4 picks; they have 2. Of course, one of them was the Kings pick. Not to bring up that subject on this.
Thanks a lot, Brad.
But
thanks a lot for that.
I had to at least mention it while I was talking to you guys. But no, it's one of those things where they could definitely move up, but they also don't have to. If that makes sense.
Hey, Brad.
That's all right, because the Kings got Kevin Huerter.
Yeah, we got Kevin. We got 48 wins in the first round playoff berth out of that. Yes. Brad, what Clint Capella, I know he's a free agent. Everything I'm reading, his time in Atlanta is done. I think he's 31. Does he still have anything left in the tank? And what do you think the market is for him out there?
I think you're right. I think Clint is probably going to move on. They haven't, like, totally closed the door, but I think it'll probably take him just not having a market to come back to Atlanta. No ill will there. They still like him. He's just gotten older. He's still a useful player. My kind of general way of describing Clint is that he went from being a really good starter when he got here, maybe even higher than that, to, like, a pretty good starter to now he's probably a really good backup center. And on some teams, he'd probably still be the starter. Like on the Lakers right now, he'd be their best starter.
Right.
What does that mean for you, for instance? But he's still valuable. 31 years old, like you said. Still rebounds the ball well. It's just offensively, he's very limited. So if you have to, he can't really do much for you other than offensive rebound on that end of the floor. But defensively, he's still a veteran. He's in the right places. He's a great rebounder. So he can fill a role, but gone are the days when he's flying around like he used to when he was like a top tier athlete.
Brad, we appreciate your time. Other than that, that knock on the Kings, that
Brad is excellent
cheap
stuff.
shot on the draft. Thank you very much, Brad. We hope to talk to you again soon. Thanks for your insight.
Happy to do it, guys. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right.
So it sounds like, the Hawks are looking at Trae Young, and we don't know. What, could we move him? Will someone take his salary? Let's call Scott. Hey, Scott, what do you think?
No, we're not interested.
Okay, there you go.
All right, so is that a name we could check off the list? No more Trae Young talk here in Sacramento?
Off the list?
Yep. Trae Young?
Off the list.
Okay, all right. Just making sure.
Don't you think?
Yes. I'm with you. I think so also. And I'll also bring up what the 510 said. We need to stop looking at any player over 30 and guards over 30 million. So that means Drew Holiday.
Yep.
Check.
Yep. I was saying to my guards, I want them like my Christmas cake.
Oh, yeah.
25th.
25th,
perfect.
right?
That's when you have your Christmas cake. 26th. Yeah.
Okay, you can still eat it. Starting to get a little hard.
Start to get towards New Year's. Nah. No, thank you. That's my philosophy.
Man. Yeah. But there ain't much else out there, though, Whitey. Chris Paul. Marcus Smart.
It's going to be
Drew Holiday.
It's going to be
Tyus Jones.
bing,
your boy.
bing, 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 bing.
Okay.
He just makes so much sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
And
not just for us, other teams too.
Yeah.
But
he makes so much sense. That's what I think fans
as our stopgap
about it. It's like, it's just too sensible.
But he's like 27, 28 also, though.
Oh, I know.
Whitey, that Christmas cake or whatever. he's up there. He's got that hard exterior. He's 29.
Oh.
Christmas cake theory goes out the window there,
A
right?
little bit younger than that old guy.
All right, just saying.
You could have a Christmas cake on the 29th. You might need a lot of
wash it down with something.
Pop it in the microwave.
Yep. There it is.
There you go. There is no perfect.
That's true.
26-year-old all-star that no one wants, but that I know is good. Grab him.
I'm with you on that, man. You preach it to the choir here.
Yeah. If I had to bet, I'd bet on Tyus Jones.
No,
again, not hoping, but bet.
Makes the most sense. Short money.
Yeah.
Don't have to,
yeah,
be tied to him for too long.
And then fans might be, big deal. But then if they can pull off moving up in the draft, then we got something going, Jay.
Got something cooking.
Yeah.
Jay.
You don't think they'll
Ain't nobody in the back half of the draft I'm ready to just jump to joy for yet.
Not even Bogolju Markovic?
Yeah, sure.
Right?
That's your guy.
No, you might get Ramsey's guy. I mean, you might have a shot at Clayton. If
he ain't a starter right now, though, I don't think.
Okay.
All right.
I think that's the plan, but we'll find out soon enough. How about this plan when we come back? I hope we can hear from Jay on this. Is baseball ready for robo-umps?
Ooh.
They will be, everyone throws this out every so often. It looks like they will be here sooner than you would think based on what the commissioner says. Are we ready for that, Drapes? Is it going to ruin everything?
Yeah. Okay.
Find out next. Drive Guys, Sactown Sports.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave. Summer is pretty much here, and Father's Day is right around the corner.